The objective for this video is to learn how to find the test value for a hypothesis test about the difference between means for dependent samples. In a previous video, we learned how to find the critical value for a test about the difference between means for dependent samples. Step 3 is to compute the test value. The formula for the test value requires that we know the mean of the differences in matched data values for the sample, the hypothesized population mean of the differences, the standard deviation of the differences for the matched pairs, and the sample size. The mean of the differences in the matched pairs for the sample requires that we know the sum of the differences in the matched pairs. The standard deviation requires this value and also the sum of the squared differences for the matched pairs. So we will begin by calculating these differences for the first matched pair. The pretest value is 82, the post-test value is 88. That difference is -6, and the square of that difference is 36. For the next matched pair, the pretest score is 76, the post-test score is 80, the difference between those values is -4, and the square of the difference is 16. We should continue this process until we have calculated the difference and its square for each of the matched pairs. We should then find the sum of the differences and the sum of the squares of the differences. We can now use these values to calculate the test value. The mean of the differences for the sample is calculated by dividing the sum of the differences by the size of the data set. This gives us a value of -6.5. In the calculation of the standard deviation, we will need to substitute the value for the sample size, the sum of the squared differences, and the square of the sum of the differences. This gives us a value of 4.927. Substituting these values into the t-test formula, we find a t-test value of -4.172. Step 4 is to make the decision to reject or not reject the null hypothesis. The hypothesized difference is 0. The critical value is -2.821. Our t-test value, -4.172, clearly lands in the region where we would reject the null hypothesis. So our decision should be to reject the null hypothesis. Step 5 is to summarize the results. Since we are going to reject the null hypothesis, our conclusion should be, at a 0.01 level of significance, there is enough evidence to support the claim that the sessions help to improve the student's mathematical skills. In this video, we learned how to find the test value for a hypothesis test about the difference between means for dependent samples.